It's different from earlier versions like WMB8, IIB 9. This completely segregated from the IBM MQ. Heard of MQ, right? Message queuing.
Yes, yes, yes.
From, yeah, that they segregated from this. So the project doesn't want any queue details or queue configuration, queue level protocol transferring messages. They don't want to take a license for the message queue. They can do only license for IIB 10 and
Okay,
IIB and do the uh, integration, suppose
okay. Mhm.
this thing. Mm. And some of the projects need specifically MQ. Then that time they want to buy the license and do the configuration and do the development on the MQ.
Mhm.
Okay, and also there is a mm, changes in configuration and naming convention and all from, if you know other versions, heard of something, then we have called broker before. The same thing we called integration node now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the integration server, it's called execution root is integration server in the IB10.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, this thing. And when I go to the course content, here I'll go through about IBM Integration Bus, how is useful and how it different from the other versions. Now, what are the difference it makes to the industry, everything, and how is product installation and how to configure everything, starting integration node, integration server,
Okay.
and basic configurations thing, and how to connect it to MQ, like is a separate thing. Before MQ has to be there for the IBM integration bus to connect to broker like integration node. Now there is nothing like that. But when you want to use MQ, then you have to connect your MQ queue manager to integration node. That
Mhm.
time you need a configuration. There are different types of configuration to be done. Those things and administration using the toolkit. Actually, toolkit provides all the things to do deploy and create a bar file and other whatever you can do runtime in a command based. You can do it in a toolkit that you usually do in a development environment, but in production and all, you don't use any toolkit. Deployment or creating bar file. We use other tools like Jenkins or Bitbucket, like that. They will create a, if you know, and script and all.
Mhm.
They will use and script to build the bar and deploy the tool users. They will use that tool to deploy and all.
Okay.
Okay. And that administrating the runtime environment, we have so many MPSI commands. If you heard of, you know, some development which you know, right? MPSI deploy, MPSI
Yeah,
create,
little bit.
broker, some of the okay. Okay, MQSI create worker. So many commands are there. Using that, you can administer our deployment, our whatever deployed in message flows, how many flows are deployed, all the current, what are the memory tools, all the things we can define by uh, this one using the commands
Okay.
and administer. So, and also this IIB 10 provides the web user interface. Like for each broker, you can open a web user interface for that broker. All the configurable items, and some operation policies like MQ operation policies we can um, see in the web user interface. Also, we can create there with the new policies there, or you can use the commands to create new policies.
Mhm.
Mostly Windows you use, Windows you can use, but Linux mostly use commands to create all the MQ policies and all
Mhm.
things.
Got it.
Okay, and okay, so here in integration bus provides two level of security. Before it was only queue based security. Now
Mhm.
that IIB 10 comes with segregated with MQ, right? If you don't use MQ, there is no queue will be there in our project. So it uses file based security that time by default.
Oh,
We
okay.
can we can switch to file or queue based security in this case.
Mhm.
Right. Okay, that is things. And diagnosis problem. Any problem comes in the toolkit or deployment, other things, how to diagnose, how to trace it, how to find the system logs, application logs everything
Mhm.
to find out the problems. And there is a monitoring. We can monitor the integration node and message flow performance in the web user interface. There we can start the statistics on. Switch on the statistics that will show the resource statistics and the performance statistics, everything. You can do that. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, and in the publish subscribe, you know about publish subscribe concept?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, okay. Like when you publish, right? Somebody it publishes to the group. It can anybody can subscribe to it and take the messages like
Mhm.
that. And there is no point-to-point communication between the sender and the receiver. Sender will send, publish it. The subscriber, whoever wants it, just receive it like share trading some value changes in the stock that will publish every minute, every seconds. That
Mhm.
somebody subscribe to the broker like ICC Direct, some Share Khan, they will subscribe to it and they will display in their screen every seconds. It
Okay.
very precious like that. And IBM Integration Bus high availability, like it should be integration bus configuration. We can have a workload management policy. We can create a policy in web user interface, and we can define how many messages to be processed per second, how many instances to be created for that flow. Those
Mhm.
things we can create in the workload management processing.
Okay.
And also they come up with their own tool like auditing, like any monitoring we enable, right? It emits an event. That event is recorded in the database. Then record that database you can replay again to put into the queue again. Then that will
Mhm.
process the message again.
Mhm.
Like it's auditing and replaying the messages, auditing and replaying, like unsubscribed. You suppose message is failed to put into the queue, some other enqueues down or any server error, we can replay the message to the queue again and we can process it again in the later time.
Okay. Okay.
And we have come up with a global cache in version 8.8. It the global cache they introduced it to the WIIB. We can store in global cache
Mhm.
everything that we can share in the multiple brokers. That global cache it remains, the cache content remain as it is in the whole transaction or until that we undeploy our flows in the message broker or IIB. These things are very helpful when we are dealing with some static tables, like in database tables. We want to that data will not change. That is a static data. We want every time you have to access the database, and it is a more responsive time will be more, and it's very expensive. So we will store that whatever the static content in the table to global cache. We can directly access from global cache. If the global cache is null, we can access a table
Mhm.
and put it to global cache, and later in the next transaction comes, it will access from directly from the global cache. Transaction will be more fast. So we
Mhm.
will use global cache for that. And the same way, there is a shared variable, environment variable, local environment variable in uh, mm, uh, the IIB that comes in mostly in development. But in the global cache setup, do it in IIB admin part. These things. We have so many policies files, different high availability, and with two catalog server, container server, there are concepts are there. We have some four types of setup we have in the global cache. Can do
Mhm.
that. And at the last, we have integration node. We have to connect to database. We have already mostly use ODBC connections. ODBC from Windows ODBC driver. We
Mhm.
use connection and DSN connection we set up, that is a 64-bit, and pointing to the database and SQL or DB2 Oracle, that things. And JDBC connection, it's a thin client. If you Java thin client is type 4 driver, we can use JDBC connection in some of the mapping node, and in the using the Java compute node, we can define the JDBC connection. We have to write one configurable service for this setup
Okay.
Oh, the register. Okay.